George Will reveals jaw-dropping take on NYC's Zohran Mamdani to Bill Maher. Now, it is jaw-dropping until you actually think about what he actually says. And I tend to agree with this. I tend to agree. This is what I've been saying about Mamdani since he first was running, which I think is kind of controversial. My take on him is controversial as well, but me and George will have kind of a similar take on this. And we're going to talk about it. It's not the popular take, but we're going to talk about it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from the Red State, and they report that once upon a time, George Will was a conservative. I'm not sure what he is anymore after his TDS drove him to vote for Joe Biden, which is, it's no defense for that. That's utterly ridiculous. There's no defense for voting for Biden. Even if he didn't want to vote for Donald Trump, voting for Biden seems a denial of everything he was before. It's certainly not a conservative position, definitely not. But what he said on Friday on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher was in some ways even more surprising than that. But again, I kind of agree with his sentiment though, and I'll explain it in a minute. Maher and Will were talking about Democrat NYC mayoral race nominee Zohran Mamdani. Maher went hard against Mamdani, saying he says, quote, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants a free grocery store, free buses. But it was Will's response that was surprising when he said he wants Mamdani to win. And this is my sentiment. Like I said, my sentiment exactly. But I'm going to explain my point to this after he explained his. So let's check out this clip here. Here we go.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah. I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess. So, when the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
So people don't really understand his point here. They think that he's actually saying that he's really for Mamdani when he's really not. It's saying it's a demonstration of socialism, because this is what happens. People have been having it so good over the past few years when it comes to capitalism. People were thriving, especially during the Trump years. People were thriving. Even our poor, we have some of the fattest poor people in the world. Even our poor people are fat. So that goes to show that capitalism actually does work. But people have become so used to it. People have become so lazy that they no longer believe in capitalism and want to start turning towards socialism. So we need examples of how bad socialism really is, because a lot of people don't get it, especially pertaining when it comes to our educational system. Our educational system don't really explain how bad socialism really is. So they don't know. So if we have a couple examples of socialism to point to and say like, hey, look at California. Look how socialism have ruined California. If we didn't have those examples, Mamdani, I'm hoping Mamdani actually wins in New York, because we know what he's gonna do to New York, so we can have another example and be like, look, young people, socialism really doesn't work. Look how it destroyed the once great city of New York. So I get this. That's the sentiment. That's what he's saying there. We need this every so often to remind us how bad socialism really is. And I agree with that. I that's what I've been basically saying. But the article goes on to say, I understand his point that he thinks it will teach people who don't understand now. The problem is that if Mamdani wins, it means a lot of suffering. And that's what and I get that. I don't want to see people suffer either. But if they vote for this, there's accountability behind that. You get what you vote for. But they go on to say, and not just for the people in New York, because of New York's importance, it's going to lead to more leftism infecting and hurting people. And it's silly to think it would be confined. It's like a virus. If you let it live, it spreads. And I get that point. That is a fair point there. They go on to say, we don't need another example of socialism failure. We already have had plenty of examples. When it fails again and they don't give up power, then what? It's real people. It's not just esoteric experiment without consequences. Mamdani and others would argue away the bad results as the results of someone else, just as we saw Biden do. People on the left will believe it, just as they fall for whatever pablum the left pushes now. Wanting Mamdani to win is similar to voting for Biden rather than Trump. A bad idea all the way around, not well thought out. Now, I don't think wanting Mamdani to win. Now, it's similar to voting for Biden. Those are two totally different things. But I'm saying if that's what the people vote for in New York, that's what they get because they voted for that. That's all that I'm saying. And it would be a great example of how bad socialism really is. I mean, if it happens, it happens. If not, great for New York. I will probably visit them sometime in the near future. If not, I won't be setting foot in New York for a very, very long time. But again, I kind of get both sides of this. I'm kind of playing the fence on this because it'll be great content for me if Mamdani ends up being New York mayor too. But we have to fight radical leftism rise whenever it rears its ugly head. I agree. But we got a lot of people that don't like George Will's point or mine either. We got one woman said named Marianda said idiotic obviously doesn't live in New York. That's true. That's true. I'm not a New Yorker. So, I mean, if I was a New Yorker, I definitely would not be voting for Mamdani at all. So, I mean, I get that. I'm not a New Yorker. So, take what I say about this with a grain of salt. But honestly, New York, hopefully y'all don't vote for Mamdani, man, because I don't want to see New York get ran into the ground. I would love to visit that wonderful city one day. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.